Hello there. I was looking at all these stars that I forgot even I'm looking like one. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we have an interesting theme of movies for you. When I first saw the topic on the chat, I realized that even I have performed a similar segment as a TMoD. So I thought that why not label this as Movies 2.0? Just like every sequel, I hope this event also increases the expectations of everyone, and we all hope to have a great time. All thanks to our Toastmaster, Navjot. With that being said, I would like to establish some rules before we begin this wonderful journey. Please stay away from your smartphones because you do not see the actors and stars using their phones while they're performing. And also, please refrain from the taboo topics such as religion, sex, and politics. Otherwise, the censor board will cut short our movie. With that being said, I wish you all a great show. Lights, camera, and action.
Thank you, Toastmaster Arjun. Good morning, people from Ireland, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters from India. This is an amazing meeting. I welcome you all to the 49th meeting of Orators in the Cloud. It is really heartening to see the colorful tiles on my screen right now. Before we begin and get into the movie mania that Toastmaster Navjot has in store for us, I'd like to talk about a movie that I recently saw. Well, this was not the first time I was seeing Kung Fu Panda. Has anybody seen that movie, Kung Fu Panda? Wow, very few people. I'm surprised that not enough people have seen it. But still, it's an animated movie made for kids. The movie is about finding the hero within, right? Towards the end of the movie, this panda who has just learned Kung Fu within a span of 2 days opens a scroll which is supposed to hide the secret of being the dragon master, which is like the highest level of Kung Fu champion. He opens the scroll and there's nothing in it. There's just a mirror where he is being reflected himself. And so then he understands that the secret is within. And then his father also tells him that there is no secret ingredient to creating the perfect soup. It's when you believe that you are perfect, that you do become perfect. And I thought to myself, wow, great idea. I should start believing that I'm perfect and I should become perfect. I thought of that and I started running. I thought that if I just believe that I'm an amazing runner, I'll keep on running and become an amazing runner. That didn't turn out really the way I expected it to. I soon injured my legs and was on a bed rest for at least a couple of days. See, that movie is made for kids. It really misses out or chooses to leave out some important details. Details like you can believe that you're the best, but then you have to work for it, get the feedback on it, work more for it, get more feedback on it, and keep doing that. And at the end of it, you will not become perfect. There is no chance that you will become perfect, but you will become pretty good at it. With that thought, let me invite our guests, some of whom you saw last week. Last week, as a guest, we had Nand Kishore. Hi, Nand Kishore, welcome again. Today, we have a new guest with us, Tanuj. Tanuj, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. Actually, I have joined a month before here in Arista from Huawei. So it's like first Toastmaster like for me. I'm feeling excited for that.
Thank you, Tanuj. And we have another guest, Harsha. Hi, Harsha.
Hi, Hind. This is Harsha from Toastmasters Amrita, Bangalore. Gopika is giving a speech. She's my mentee. I attended the session earlier. Hoping for a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsha. We also have guest role takers who definitely will get their speaking roles. So I'm not going to introduce them, but I very much welcome Toastmaster Latha, Toastmaster Gopika, and Toastmaster Jay. With that, I would not like to waste any more of your time. And let's find that secret ingredient with our very own Toastmaster Navjot. Please take over the stage.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hind. Good morning, good evening, fellow Toastmasters. What are the top 3 ways in which people like to spend their leisure time? I would not let you spoil my punchline. I will answer it myself. The answer lies in the famous dialogue by Vidya Balan, who is an Indian actress. The dialogue goes entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. One of the most popular modes of entertainment is movies. And disclaimer before we move on further with the session, this is the only Bollywood reference that I will be making throughout the session. So apologies in advance for the Bollywood fans. How I view movies is an interval of time where we can get out of the matrix of a real life, live through some of the prestige moments of the characters of the movies we are watching, whatever the genre it may be, scary movies, psychological thrillers, crime mystery, drama, etc. If you paid attention to my last sentence, I included names of 3 movies in which two are my favorite. Any guesses? Anyone notice the names of 2 movies?
The Matrix.
Yeah, 2 more. Okay, yeah. So the movies were The Matrix, Prestige, and The Scary Movie. And the first 2 are my favorite. Movies have an ability to impact us, to bring forward ideas for the public to ponder upon. Taking an example of The Matrix, it brought forward the idea of simulation theory to the mainstream audience, which depicts that the reality we are experiencing is a computer simulation or a virtual reality. A major technological tycoon gave a statement on this theory. The statement goes like this: there is a 1 in a billion chance that we are not living in a computer simulation. Any idea who am I talking about?
Is it Elon Musk?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
right man. Yeah. So the answer is Elon Musk, and he needs no introduction. Another thing that makes us fall in love with a movie is portraying a character in such a way that it makes audience doubt their own morality. We can do this by making the audience sympathize with the antagonist of the movie. And in my opinion, one movie did it best. I will give a hint by reciting one of the dialogues from the antagonist of the movie. The dialogue goes like this: madness is, as you know, is like a gravity. All it needs is a little push. Any idea?
I know it. I know it.
I
The
can
Dark
give
Knight.
one more hint, but yeah, right. The movie is Dark Knight, and the movie raised so high expectations from the DC comic from which Batman belongs, that Marvel took over. At least that's what I tell myself before going to sleep at night, because I'm a DC comic fan. Heath Ledger's Joker character is considered one of the best cinematic performances of the cinematic history, and he also won Oscar for this posthumously. The movie had so much depth that you will notice each new detail every time you watch it that you have never noticed. All right, so let's take the session forward. I will pass on the baton to General Evaluator Toastmaster Shreya to introduce to the jury. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Navjot. As Toastmaster Navjot said, I am the general evaluator today. But before I start explaining on what my role is or what the role of the team is, let me start with why we as evaluators are here today. And this is for the benefit of the guests that have joined us today. Toastmaster Hind, sorry to say, but you stole my beginning. You spoke a bit, I mean, you said, did it much better than me, talking about movie and then the idea of perfection and improvement. But that's where I'm headed. At Toastmasters, we do not believe in the idea of absolute perfection. We believe that we start at a point and then we improve continuously based on the evaluation that we get. And as good as self-critical awareness is, we also believe that getting the evaluation from a panel or overall set of people is more effective and faster at improvement. So that is why we are here today. We encourage you all to come forth, make mistakes, and learn from them. So before I go on to talk about my role today, let me speak about what kind of evaluators we have. We have two kind of evaluators today. The first one is called the tag team. This tag team will evaluate the whole meeting on some aspects or on the different aspects of speeches. And they'll be evaluating the whole meeting, like I said. The other kind of evaluator is the speech evaluator. A speech evaluator will be evaluating one particular prepared speech specifically. Now let's get on to introducing our tag team today. Without any delay, first let me have the timer, Toastmaster Jay from Power School Club, up here to introduce himself and his role. Over to you, Toastmaster Jay.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, as a timer, I will time the table topic speakers, the formal speeches, and the evaluations for today. I will also alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, the yellow, and the red placards, which denote specific times remaining. The table topic speakers should limit their speeches to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will raise the green placard. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow. And at 2 minutes, I will raise the red card. The formal speeches should be within 5 to 7 minutes in length. At minute 5, I will raise the green card. At minute 6, I will raise the yellow. And at minute 7, I will raise the red card. The individual evaluation should be no more than 2 to 3 minutes. At minute 2, I will raise the green card. At minute 2 and 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I will raise the red card. Back to you, Toastmaster Shreya. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jay, for a very concise and on-time explanation of your role today. Let's get on to the next evaluator, Toastmaster Raghava, to explain about his role, the AhCounter.
Thank you, Shreya. Good morning and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So today I would be the AhCounter, and my responsibility is to keep a track of all the CRPF words used by every speaker during the meeting. CRPF includes crutch words like etc., repetitive words, pauses, and filler words such as like, but, etc. I would like to share some tips that would help everyone improve their speech. We tend to come across crutch words when we are out of words or thoughts. So at this point, it would be good to have pauses in your speech instead of using crutch words. That would help improve your speech. And in case of filler words, you tend to use them when you're nervous or when you're lost in words about what comes next. So at this time, I would suggest you to slow down the pace of your speech so that you would have time to recollect your thoughts and make your speech smooth and go forward. So I would be making a note of all the expressions used by all the speakers today and would be giving a detailed report at the end of this meeting. And I would like to end by saying thanks to everyone for joining, and all the best to all the speakers today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Raghava, for giving those wonderful tips. Hopefully, we will all implement it today in the meeting. Lastly, let me hand over the stage to the Grammarian of the day, Toastmaster Latha, to explain about her role and also give us the word of the day. Over to you, Toastmaster Latha.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. Dear fellow Toastmasters and guests, as grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to the language usage. I'll take note of any improper language, as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As a grammarian, it's my duty to introduce the word of the day. And today, for today's meeting, the word of the day is bewildered. As you can see from my background, it's an adjective, which means perplexed and confused, or very puzzled. A usage of this is, when Rita woke up in the hospital room, she was bewildered at how she ended up there. I would encourage each speaker to use the word of the day today. I will give the grammarian's report when called upon during the meeting and also report on the usage of the word of the day. Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Latha. So now that we have the tag team who has introduced themselves, let me talk a bit about my role. I am the general evaluator today. Like the tag of the role, the tag says, I'll be evaluating the general proceedings of the meeting from the beginning to the end. I'll hopefully be having some points of improvement for those roles that could not be covered by the other evaluators today. At the end of the meeting, we will all come back and give to you a hopefully helpful evaluation report for you to take back with you. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Navjot.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. Dreams are a weird place to be in, aren't they? Although it bewilders me to know that we still know the tip of the iceberg about our own consciousness when we are trying to research about the black holes that are light years away. But as far as movies are concerned, we do not need to care about the scientific validness of the theme of the movie. And it's just imagination and we can just let it go. One of the movie on this phenomena is about erasing real life memories via dreams or replacing the memories. If I want to spoil the movie, I can say that two lovers are trying to get over a failed relationship. Any idea which movie I'm talking about? I can give a hint. The main lead actor is the Grinch and the female lead is the Rose from Titanic.
Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. I don't remember the name of the movie.
All right, so time's up. The movie is Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind. As Hind mentioned, the movie stars Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, and it's a must-watch movie. One of the details I still remember is it is a scientists claim that we cannot create new faces on our own, and in movies, whenever we are in a crowd, all the stranger faces are blank or they have no facial features. But we have never noticed because we have a tunnel vision in the dreams, and this can be really noticed in the movie. Let's come back to the session. Let's come back to the reality and move forward with the session today. We have an icebreaker today. Toastmaster Phil will be giving his icebreaker, but let's first welcome the evaluator of the speech. Over to you, Toastmaster Hind.
Thank you, Toastmaster Navjot. Without giving any more scary nerves to Toastmaster Phil, let me just introduce the purpose of his speech, which is for him to introduce himself to the club and learn the basic structure of a speech. As an evaluator, I'll be looking out for the structure of the speech, how he divides his narrative in different structure, and how he goes about weaving the whole storyline in a single thread. I will not be looking out for very complex ideas or very complex sentence constructions over here. It's all basic for now. It's breaking the ice. All the best breaking the ice, Toastmaster Phil. Back to you, TMoD. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hind. So now let's move on to the first speech, that is the icebreaker. Welcome, Toastmaster Phil. Underground misadventure, Toastmaster Phil.
As I crawled out of the narrowing tunnel, I was on my elbows, trying to avoid getting my injured hand on the ground. I thought at least I'd be able to get a drink now, because I was parched. That's when someone decided to tell me it was at least an hour's walk back to where we'd started. Let's rewind about 10 hours, maybe even 10 hours and 2 weeks. My wife and I had received an invitation from our friends, Gemma and Eric. They were going to leave London for the weekend and go caving with some friends of theirs. Would we like to come? Well, I met my wife through work and we knew each other fairly well before we even started seeing each other. So it was no surprise to me that she had friends who did these kind of madcap things and that she'd been doing some while she was at university. And she knew that whilst I hadn't done anything in, well, let's just say a few years, then I had at least been fairly adventurous in my early 20s. So there was never any real doubt we were definitely going to go. Having checked that the cave would be suitable for a beginner, someone who hadn't done it in more than a decade, and agreed that that would be fine. We met at the appointed place in a car park and changed into our gear. I was in an RAF flight suit borrowed from my future father-in-law, pair of Wellington boots, large rubber gloves with a hard hat, a torch, spare batteries and bulbs, and a climbing harness and a belay device. Many of you might know what a belay device is. For those that don't, it's a climbing and abseiling piece of kit, which allows you to produce friction on a rope by forcing an N shape into it, and then you can control how much friction by moving your arm up and down. The device attaches to your climbing harness and means that you can take someone's entire body weight and it goes through your hips. We were introduced to Andy, the leader of the expedition, who explained to us that we'd be underground for about 8 hours, just after we'd descended straight through this hole in the ground that the others were currently rigging a rope to. As he headed down the rope first, Andy pointed out that this was a fast rope as it was a new one. More people followed Andy down, and as they were going, Dave came over to me and said, as you haven't abseiled in a few years, maybe it'd be a good idea to get some extra friction. His proposed method was to add an extra carabiner on the leg loop of my climbing harness and form a W shape with the rope and pull up instead of down. As I didn't much want to plummet to my death in front of people, having just met them, I decided I'd do as Dave suggested, then sat on the edge of the hole, pushed off, and instantly plummeted towards my death. Don't be bewildered by this turn of events. What had happened was, as I was sat down, the carabiner on my leg loop pulled over the belay device and caused me just to be literally holding a rope in a V shape with no real friction at all. My immediate survival was down to the fact that I was in a sort of chimney and was able to brace myself into it, stopping myself falling out. However, there was at least 5 or 6 meters to go in a large cavern before the bottom of the floor, and I found myself holding myself in the air just with the rope with my hand. My life was undoubtedly saved by Andy, who very calmly ran out to the side of the cavern and told me to let go. As I did, the angles involved meant that I stopped just before I reached the floor. I looked up, back through the chimney, and could see clearly that this was a one-way situation. Whilst I was inspecting my hand and the 2 large holes in my palm, the one between thumb and forefinger and the one on the back, all from rope burn, the rest of the team continued to descend. Whilst this was going on, Eddie decided it would be a great idea to come over and say, this cave really isn't suitable for beginners, you know. Thanks, Eddie. I think my lowest point on the whole adventure was traversing a slab of clay. It was fairly narrow, and you had to sort of slither over it on your front, a bit like a snake. My lowest point wasn't the first time over this slab, nor indeed the second. It was the 3rd time over the slab. That's right, we were lost, and the reason we were down for 10 hours and not 8 was not really to do with my hand. I think the one section of the whole cave that is burned into my mind is called the Wretched Rabbit. It forms a sort of curved shape, narrower at the top and wider at the bottom, and you sort of go into it side on in an S shape, or at least you do if you're short enough. If you're my height, instead you find yourself dragging yourself along on your hands, sharp pointy little rocks digging into your hands as the cold stream rushes into your top. At any rate, we were almost there, except for the final 2 walls with just ropes hanging down to pull yourself up with. For these, there was much pushing, shoving, grunting, lending of knees and swearing, but eventually I was up and at the tunnel where we came in and on our way to the unwelcome news about the drink. The day ends, as many do in England, in the pub over a hearty meal and that much needed drink. I was sat there wondering what my colleagues would make of my hand on Monday morning. Why then might I have gone on this adventure? It's an amazing thing to do, caving, and I would, I guess, recommend it, despite the obvious peril. Having said that, my wife and I have not been again since, although to show that there were no hard feelings, we did get married in a cave. In the end, though, I guess I agree with Eddie. That cave was not suitable for beginners.
Thank you, Toastmaster Phil. That was an interesting speech. And congratulations for your icebreaker. This is one of the meetings where we have two prepared speakers. So for the second speech, we have evaluator Toastmaster Ram. Over to you, Toastmaster Ram, for describing the points about the speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Navjot. I hope the purpose of this speech and its evaluation rubric will not be bewildering. The purpose of this speech is to work on a project where the person who's performing this project is going to share some aspect of her coaching. She may have coached a person who's a Toastmaster or someone who's not a Toastmaster. And what she's going to present to us is some aspect of her experience with the coaching. As an evaluator, I'm going to look for traditional things, mainly how well organized that speech is. It can be in any style. Outside of that, I'll also look for other things that we're used to: clarity, vocal variety, audience engagement, how comfortable she's with the audience, and her interest in engaging with the audience to make sure that and provide well-constructed conduct. And will she share some amount of personal experience as a coach? Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ram. Now let's welcome our second speaker, Toastmaster Gopika, and the tables turned, Toastmaster Gopika.
Mom, come quickly. What happened? Why are you crying? Look at me. I'm bleeding all over. What happened to you? Calm down. I'll get the medicine, and once I apply it, you'll be fine. Stop crying. But I'm bleeding so much. Blood is oozing out of me. What did you do to create this? I was just playing on the road. Gopika, I have told you so many times not to play on the road. Go to the playground and play. There are so many vehicles also going by. Why would you play on the road? I will not do that anymore, Mom. Toastmaster of the day and my dear friends, I'm sure we all had a similar scenario like this while we were growing up. We always might have come home crying with cuts, bruises, fights, and whatnot. And we would vent this all to our mothers. Sometimes she'll listen. Sometimes she'll try to console us. And sometimes she might even give us advice on what we can do to make the situation better. And as we grew up, I realized that sometimes the roles get reversed. We become the support systems for the people who guided us at some point in our life. Now, I was looking for a person to coach for my project. My mentor was going through a rough patch in his second path. Now, giving a little bit of background on my mentor, when I joined Toastmasters, I had randomly picked out a person from the club as my mentor. The first conversation, the first call I had with him, I instantly bonded and connected with him. We all know the relationship between Tom and Jerry, right? Right? We all know how they fight, they bicker, but at the end of the day, we always notice that they need each other to complete one another. Just like that, we always fought with each other, but we also encouraged each other and pushed each other out of our comfort zones. And that was the moment I realized my mentor was looking for a person to help, and I was looking for a person to coach. I immediately decided to get started and to devise a plan. I had gone to most of the clubs he gave a speech to because I wanted to encourage him, but also I wanted to learn something from him. I had been to almost all of the last few speeches he has given, so I knew how he structured his speeches, but I also knew what was going wrong in them. In the last speech he had given, it was purely out of a lot of frustration and procrastination. I knew this firsthand because I was the one who was sitting on the other side of the camera and encouraging him to write the speech and to concentrate. Now, coming to his speech, The biggest roadblocks I noticed in his speech was the introduction to the speech as well as the spaces and pauses in between his speech. We all know that the introduction to a speech is what catches the attention of the audience. It builds anticipation and excitement in the eyes of the audience. But once it cannot be done and once it is not available, that spark is gone, or you're not able to engage the audience, they lose their interest in the speech. Listen. So I came up with a few suggestions and ideas on how he can build storyline and create engagement in the initial part of the speech. It would give him creativity at the beginning of the speech, to which he was very patient and he listened very concentrated. It was a very good experience for me as a mentee and also as a coach. Now, coming to the second part of where he needed improvement, the problem lied in pauses. And we all know how important pauses really are when it comes to a speech, especially when delivering a humor speech. This is because the main essence of humor lies in delivery. Now, if pauses are not given at the right points at the right time, we also know that the point we're trying to convey will not seem funny and the essence of the humor will be lost within the speech. The audience will not be able to connect to the joke. I gave him a personal tip I use all the time. When you write a script, when you mention where you want the pauses to be, put it in bold, put it in a bracket, and also make it double the size the font you usually use. Because while you're practicing, you will be able to see where you want that pause at a particular point. So while practicing, you get a clear idea of where the pause lies. You can take that break, you can take that pause, and more practice makes more perfection for the speech. Now, by the time I started receiving his practice videos, I was shocked to see the improvement, the visible change in his speaking style, as well as the changes he made in both the introduction of the speech as well as the pauses in the speech. And I'm looking forward to so much more changes and so much more improved speeches and watching him soar up in the next few levels after seeing so much of effort put from his side. But in between all these things, there's one thing that I realized listening to him speak and my experience as a coach giving advice. There will always be someone who's better than us and who can help us get better. There will always be someone who will have an extra skill or a capability that we might not have, not as much as how much time we spend or how much we grow. Sometimes there will always be one single person who can teach us something new. Even though I was initially shocked when the tables turned between my mentor-mentee relationship, I realized that when something my mentor said sometime back when I joined Toastmasters, it was a very simple statement that I carry forward even to this day. It was a mentorship is a two-way process. It's a give and take relationship. When I put in something into that relationship, I can get something out of it. When I put in something into that relationship, I get something to learn from it. And that was the same the case of coaching. I started to ask myself, why should mentorship only be like that? Why can't every relationship or every path we take have something to give and take between two people? After all, God uses mentors and coaches to have that spark, life change, and legacy impact. What do you think? Over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gopika, for such a thoughtful speech. A movie is like a child of a director. It all depends how the director nurtures it. It all depends how the movie will turn out to be. A director leaves his or her signature in each movie. Two such movies are an example. Spike Jonze and Sofia Coppola grew up together, married each other, and unfortunately got divorced in 2003. They both are directors, and in the same year, Sofia Coppola directed a movie which was believed to be her metaphorical perspective of the divorce. John, who is a character in Sophia's movie, was a photographer who was excessively focused on his career and make the female protagonist of the movie feel alienated. Spike Jonze released a movie 10 years later that depicts his metaphorical perspective and is a response to Sofia Coppola's movie, in which Joaquin Phoenix, who character, starts to fall in love with AI operating system after getting estranged. Any guesses?
Spike Jonze movie is Her,
Yeah.
and I don't know Sofia Coppola's movie.
Yeah. So both the movies, so Sofia Coppola's movie is Lost in Translation, which was released in 2003, and Spike Jonze movie is Her, as Hind mentioned, which released in 2013. Operating system in Her is actually a metaphor of Jones' career, and when at the end of the movie, Joaquin Phoenix character apologized to his ex-wife in Her, it is actually Jones is apologizing to Coppola for focusing more on his work than her. All right, so I now put a burden on Toastmaster Hillol to make a session more light, to lighten the mood of the session with table topics. So over to you, Toastmaster Hillol.
Thank you, Toastmaster Navjot. Table topics. I think this is one of the most interesting part of Toastmaster meeting. You don't need any preparedness. You don't need any format. Just be yourself, be candid, and speak your heart out. That's what table topic is all about. Basically, you will be given a topic, and whatever comes to your mind, you just speak up. And the timer has already shared how long you need to speak and what is the time constraint that you already know. Okay, so today's theme is movies. Everybody's speaking about movie. And that's what I'm going to give you in this table topic. That's what the theme of the table topic is. I'm going to give you a chance to leave one of the most favorite movie characters of all the time. Perhaps they're very famous movie character. So let's not do any further delay. And let's get started. So imagine one morning you wake up and you look at the mirror and you find yourself not to be yourself, but one of the famous movie character. You need to say what comes to your mind and what would be your reaction. Okay, so let's get started. I need volunteers. If somebody wants to go first, please raise the hand. Nobody? Nobody? Okay, Konrad. So Konrad, you need to select a number between 1 and 15.
9.
Okay, 9. So imagine one morning you wake up and you're not in your hometown. You are in Manhattan's in a small studio apartment. And you are one of the characters of the famous TV series Friends. I guess you have watched it. Have you watched it, by the way?
Sorry?
Friends, the TV series.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I know what it is, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. Can you choose another number between 1 and 15?
14.
14. Okay. So you are Dragon from the movie How to Train Your Dragon. Can you?
Yeah. Thank you. So I haven't watched the movie, but I watched clips of it, and I understand what it is about. And it's about a friendship between a kid and a very powerful and possibly dangerous entity like a dragon. And I think the main thing that the movie wants to show to the viewer is to understand that the power in your power doesn't come from your strength or the things that you can do, or from you being a superior being than other people, but it comes from your ability to become a friend to anyone, and it shows that the power of friendship and humility is the most powerful thing, not your strength, not your physical strength or superiority. It's the power of friendship, what you can do together, and not what you can do yourself. Thank you. Back to you.
Well done, Konrad. Although you have just watched some clips, but still you could make a speech out of it. That's really good. So next person, anybody from the guest? Anybody would like to volunteer from the guest? Okay, Gopika. So you just need to choose a number between 1 and 15.
1 and
15, 1 5.
7.
7. Okay. So you are extremely sharp, very smart, and perhaps the greatest observer. You are Sherlock Holmes. So tell me, what would be your reaction if you wake up to Sherlock Holmes one day?
Gopika, Gopika, get up from your sleep. I wake up to my mother shouting at me. I rub my eyes and I'm like, what is it, Mom? What can I help you with? I can't find my glasses. Have you seen them? It's the same story all over again. I was Sherlock Holmes. I was called Sherlock Holmes by other people, but my mother will still call me by my name, Gopika. And she will call me up to find her glasses. I'm supposed to be fighting crime and solving cases. And right now, in this pandemic, I'm stuck at home with my parents, finding her lost lens and my dad's shoes. How much horrible can life get? I get up and I start searching the whole house for the specs. It's not under the bed. I go and check in the kitchen. Usually, she'll put it in some tin where she's putting her spices. I go through all the shelves, but I still can't find the glasses. I start to question myself. Am I losing my skills? Am I losing my talent at finding things? I'm supposed to be one of the greatest detectives of all times. And that is the moment when I realize the specs are on my mom's head. I asked my mother, Mom, what are you doing in the morning? I was reading the newspaper, but I can't find my specs right now. It's on your head. Oh, thank you. At least we have some use of having you at home in this pandemic. And this is how my life has come into in this small apartment right now. As Sherlock Holmes outside and Gopika inside, I am spending my time with my dog and nobody else other than my parents and finding lost stuff in the house. Over to you.
Well done, Toastmaster Gopika. I guess someday you will actually become Sherlock Holmes. All the best. So next person, anybody want to volunteer? Or shall I just speak somebody directly? What about Hind? Would you like to go? I think you were muted.
Yes.
Okay. So choose a number between 1 and 15. So 14 and 7 are already taken.
4?
1 to 15. 4.
4. Yeah.
Okay. So when you say 4, you are doing something very opposite to what's there in your background. So your background says it's Batman, so you are Joker. So tell me what would be your reaction?
I'd wake up having really found the purpose of my life. Because what could have been better than finding a purpose in a generation that's always lost? I wake up and I know the thing that I want to do is spread anarchy. The world is my stage, anarchy is my weapon, and nobody will be spared. I set out to buy some explosives very discreetly, but not so discreetly because I want to be known. I want to be known by this guy. Can I point to him? Yeah, this guy. I want to be known by this guy. I want to be known by the whole world. And I want to show people what their true nature really is. I want to shoot ethics right in its forehead and tell everybody that ethics are for theories. And when the chips fall down, nobody, not a single person in the world, will have a single ounce of sympathy to provide to anybody. And I will do all the things that will make people believe that they are no better than animals. And they are out here for survival. That their so-called society, civilized society, it's a joke. And that joke, when I let these people know of this joke, then my purpose will be fulfilled. And then I will leave knowing that I am not the only joker in the world, that I have created 1,000 more. And they will take my legacy forward. They will take the legacy of anarchy forward, and the whole world will burn into it. That will be the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hind. I think you should change your background. You deserve to be Joker more than Batman. Okay, so timer, do we have enough time for another speech? Another table topic speech?
We have time
Timer.
for another speech.
Okay, so who will want to go next? Anybody raising hand? Okay, I'll again pick somebody. What about Ram?
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you choose a number between 1 and 15?
6.
6. Okay. So you are smart, but sometimes irritating. But anyways, you are everybody's favorite. You are Jack Sparrow from the movie Pirates of Caribbean. But have you watched it, Pirates of Caribbean?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. Can you go for the speech then?
Sure.
Thank you.
On one side, the pandemic is on. I had to travel by flight from Bangalore to Bombay. Imagine my surprise when I found on my left-hand side, I'm hemmed in by Sherlock Holmes. On my right-hand side, by Joker. And I'm Jack Sparrow, a simple sparrow. What do you expect me to do? The Joker, who's supposed to be humorous, preaches about the philosophy of life. Sherlock Holmes, who's supposed to be a person of great intellect, is cracking jokes and making fun, using all of the skill that Sherlock Holmes has for detection to find silly, mundane, bewildering things in her home. And think of this poor Jack Sparrow, supposed to be a pirate, but you know what? He's stuck in the middle seat, traveling from Bangalore to Mumbai. Can't express himself. All he can do is be spontaneous and give a speech. The poor guy is trying to do that well. On the right-hand side, you see the Joker who's saying, come on, I am going to tell you about how this world has evolved. On the left-hand side, Sherlock Holmes is saying, come on, guys, let me find my mother's specs, otherwise she's going to be upset with me. And Jack Sparrow stuck again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. So that was table topic session. I will give you 1 minute time to vote for the best table topic speaker. Phil, can you share the link over chat? Can you share the link for voting of table topic? There you go. Just take 1 minute to vote for your favorite table topic speaker. So I think we got all the votes. Okay. That was table topics session. And now over to Toastmaster Navjot.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hillol. And thank you for such a wonderful table topic segment. And hats off to all the table topic speakers for giving such a outstanding extemporaries. So any Christopher Nolan fans here? So they're continuing with the previous theme. So he made another movie about the dreams, as opposed to the Avengers Endgame, they pulled a time heist, but in this movie they pulled a dream heist, that too a multi-level dream. Any ideas about the movie?
Inception.
Ask difficult questions.
I just wanted to answer before Hind did.
Yeah. So that's right, Toastmaster Shreya. So the movie is Inception, and once you watch it, you might have to watch it again to get the concept fully. So moving the session further, let's move on to the evaluation. So let's welcome a general evaluator again for carry on the evaluations. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Navjot. Without any delay, I think we can start with the speech evaluators today. So let me call upon Toastmaster Hind to come forth and give the evaluation of the first speech. Over to you, Toastmaster Hind.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Good afternoon and morning again, everybody. I was bewildered by this speech, not because I could not get the story, but because I was told this was going to be an icebreaker. And it was anything but. The speech began with a story, with recounting a particular instance. And all through the speech, throughout the 5 to 6 minutes of the speech, it remained on the topic, kept on recounting the story in a progressive narrative fashion until we reached the end. Such a choice of a speech where you are recounting a particular story lends itself very well to you constructing the speech, because you know the only way forward is the way forward in time. And Toastmaster Phil did an amazing job at not going about his entire life and opening up his entire life in his icebreaker. He chose a particular instant, picked it up, described the story. And because he did that, the audience, us, we felt comfortable in following it up with him very easily. And it really helped that he described the situation, the geography, the feelings, the emotions very well. Whenever he was crouching down and crawling under the rocks, he told us he was doing that. Whenever he said that he was looking up at the chimney, he looked up. Such kind of visual cues really help in selling the story, in convincing the listeners of what they're hearing and helping create a visual perspective in their head. And this was done very well by Toastmaster Phil. Another great Another great thing about Toastmaster Phil's speech was the composer. As mentioned earlier, it was going to be an icebreaker, but throughout his speech, it didn't feel like an icebreaker. With the composer that he had, with the amount of CRPS that he used, an AhCounter will definitely explain more on that. But as with all great things, there are definitely scopes of improvement. First of all, the speed. You had a narrative in mind, Toastmaster Phil, and the story was written by you. You could have eliminated things, made the story shorter, but included pauses for us to be with you in your story. You were running at a pace, and as a listener, as a viewer of your story, I was running with you, and sometimes I had difficulty in catching up. Another area of improvement would have been the visual cues. This virtual environment allows you to change your background and help the viewers generate visual cues in their head. So when you were explaining how the rope was tied to you and how you were using it to get down, it would have been amazing if your background changed to show what the shape of that rope looks like, how it attaches to a human. I know this would have been extra effort on your end, but it would have really helped. And finally, another thing that could have that I would invite you to challenge yourself with is use different tones to convey different emotions in your story. Throughout your speech, you remained at a given decibel level. Your voice did not rise up a lot. It didn't slow down, or it didn't compose itself down to a calm. You remained at the level, and that, along with the speed, at times made it difficult to follow your story. I hope I was useful. Back to you, GE Toastmaster Shreya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Hind, for such a comprehensive evaluation of the speech. Now let's move on to the second speech evaluator, Toastmaster Ram, to present his findings today.
Wasn't this a wonderful speech? Toastmaster Gopika, in line with the expectation for a L4 speech, was meticulous with the preparation, very clear structure in terms of introduction, body, conclusion, very comfortable in front of the audience, high levels of skill in hand gestures, facial expressions, vocal variety, simple topic, well chosen, very effective delivery. From the rubric perspective, there was not much I could say in terms of what needed to improve. So I had to think a little bit. The only thing I thought about, maybe there are people who will give other kinds of feedback, please do ask for it. The only thing I could think of was, while Toastmaster Gopika was speaking, I saw several people distracted. Actually, throughout the speech, I saw there were quite a few people who were distracted. I never saw all the tiles on my monitor paying attention to Toastmaster Gopika's speech. Everyone who had turned their cameras on, people were looking down, looking away, etc., etc. So possibly some amount of spontaneity in recognizing what the audience is doing and then responding to it, maybe finding a way to bring them back into the speech. When you were so focused on your own speech, your own delivery, that the rest of it kind of blurred away. Other than that great effort, I wish I can speak like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ram. I think let's get on to the tag team evaluations now. May I call upon the first member of the tag team, Toastmaster Jay. Toastmaster Jay, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. We had two speakers today. Speaker number one, Toastmaster Phil, took 5 minutes, 44 seconds. Speaker number two, Toastmaster Gopika, took 7 minutes and 25 seconds. We had the evaluators for them. Toastmaster Hind took 4 minutes and 6 seconds. And we had the evaluator number two, Toastmaster Ram, who took 1 minute and 29 seconds. All the table topics were well within time. Back to you, Toastmaster Shreya.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Jay. Let's move on to the next role taker today, AhCounter. Can you please have Toastmaster Raghav present his evaluation?
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. We had a couple of very good speeches today, and I tried my best to find all the CRPF words in everyone's speeches here. And it was a tough job since you all had done really good. I would start with some of the individual evaluations. So Arjun, I couldn't find any CRPF word you have used, so that's a great job. And TMoD Navjot. So I know that you had a couple of bigger speech since you are talking throughout your speech. I could see a lot of R's used in your speech and also ands. So if you could remove these from your speech, it would be better. And for Shreya, I had seen you had used a couple of R's in your speech and also ands again. So if you reduce that, it would be a great speech. And Hillol, you did a good job. I couldn't find any CRPF words. And Phil, that was a great speech. And as Hind said in his evaluation, you didn't actually like use the pauses at the right time. I could feel you were like running over your speech. Like if you had used your pauses at the right time, it would have been more better. And you had used a lot of R's also in your speech. So apart from that, it was a really good speech. I could see that you have tried to reduce your R's and give pauses at some places. So that was a good job. And when it comes to Gopika, you had a really great speech. I couldn't notice any CRPF words, but except for that, I just want to mention that you have a lot of I's in your speech. So some pauses between the sentences and using I would be better, but I had seen the continuous I's that's been used in your speech. So I would just say that. And so coming to the table topics, Konrad, you had used a lot of I's in your speech and a lot of ands. So if you could reduce that from next time, your speech would be more better. And Ram, that was you have done a really good job. Like in all your speeches, I couldn't find a single CRPF word I could catch. Yeah, that's the report from my side.
Thank you, Toastmaster Raghav, for that comprehensive report. Lastly, let's get on to the grammarian today, Toastmaster Latha, to tell us what she thought could be done better and what was done well. Over to you, Toastmaster Latha.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. It is a very refreshing 1 hour for me spending here with in this club. As far as the word of the day, bewildered, I found Toastmaster Navjot, Toastmaster Phil, Toastmaster Ram, and Hind having used this. And I found Toastmaster of the day, Navjot, liberally giving out quotes and thoughts and sayings. Whatever I could write it down, I could note it down, I did. I hope I did justice to whatever your speech, Toastmaster Navjot. I think the bestest movie is a child of the director. That was a pretty good one. And 1 in a billion chances we are living in now. And a computer simulations by Elon Musk. That was also very nice. And the third one, which really was nice, was Magnus is like gravity, and all it needs is a little push. I found that I think the next, moving on to Toastmaster Phil, he used words like slither, peril, and traversing, and cavern and plummet. It was very nice. I didn't find any specific quotes or sayings from you, Toastmaster Phil. And with Toastmaster Gopika, practice the sayings, practice makes perfect, going through a rough patch, words like bicker, procrastination, anticipation was very nice. And Toastmaster Ram was awesome, and his I just really admire your vocabulary, sir. The words hemmed, mundane, bewildered, and spontaneous was very nice. And with Konrad, the one thing that I picked up from Toastmaster Konrad is power comes from your ability to be a friend to anyone. That was a sort of that resonated with me. It was very nice. And I did not find any improper grammar uses, or that's why I have no any suggestions for you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Latha. Now I'll get started with my report for today. Starting with the positives, I would say this was one of the best beginnings for a meeting we have had. What an explosive start by Toastmaster Arjun. Unfortunately, he's not here yet. I mean, he's not here right now, but I'll convey the message to him. And even Toastmaster Hind, I think you carried it forth brilliantly from where he left off. So kudos to both of you. Also, one of the meetings where we have started right on time at 4 p.m., which I'm very proud of. And I think we're still running on time even right now. And that's great to know. But some things that we could improve on is, I think role takers could prepare more in advance. I did see that some of the role takers were not ready with the names of the people that you're supposed to hand it to over next. And also maybe prepare a bit on what the role entails today, especially for the people who are joining for the first time. It would help to prepare about this beforehand so that you seem more composed when you're explaining about your role. Apart from that, another thing that I also saw, that a lot of the role takers were looking at their screen like as if they're reading from it at multiple times. And this is something that I'm noticing is a recurring pattern. I would please request all the people to, take a few hours off, maybe if your role has a lot of preparation to do, and try to not do such thing as read from a screen, because it takes away the engagement factor. People on the other side can notice that you're not actually engaging with the audience, but you're looking somewhere else. So I think that is something that the role takers can maybe note from next time. Now getting on to the particular roles, Toastmaster Navjot. I think you have done really well in terms of picking your movies. You made sure that they do not make anyone feel left out. And that is a great point, especially as being an Indian and probably someone who watches a lot of Hindi or Bollywood movies. You could have very easily made people alienated in this movie and in this journey of this movie, but you did not do that. So kudos to you. One thing again I would reiterate is, it looks like you're looking elsewhere and not at the screen some of the time, so that removes the engagement factor again. So please try to actually look at the people and maybe keep them engaged that way. Another thing that you could have done better was give a brief on the different sections of a meeting. As the head of the meeting today, you were the headliner, and so you could have explained about what the different sections are, especially for the guests to understand. Lastly, I feel the transitions between the different sections could have been smoother, maybe perhaps from where you're picking up after some role taker has finished and then you're handing it off to someone else. That transition could have been smoother is what I feel. Toastmaster Phil, with your icebreaker today, I would say that, excellent speech, great usage of vocabulary, and it was very well explained. You had a very sweet ending, but I feel that you could have had a stronger start. Especially, it could have been a graphic explanation. You were tumbling down, you were hurting yourself. You could have maybe had more vocal variety in the beginning to have a stronger start to your speech. Toastmaster Gopika, I really loved your speech. I think the start was excellent. You were enacting a scene and you were even moving across to ensure that people knew who you were, who the role was at that point, and that was great. And I really liked your end as well. That was very thought-provoking about the two-way process, even between someone who's probably superior as a mentor and the other person as a mentee. Coming on to the table topics today, I must say I'm bewildered by the quality of the table topic speakers today, and that was great. Table topics master Hillol, very innovative topic. You have caught onto the theme very quickly, and it was very innovative. I would say kudos to your creativity on picking up this session. I feel one thing you could have done better is probably, since it's not the common table topics format, you could have given an example for the speakers to understand better on what they're supposed to do when they come and speak. Konrad, I feel that you have to be a bit louder. There are times when you get quiet, especially at the second half of your sentences. So it becomes a bit difficult to follow you. So maybe increase on your loudness, as well as probably work a bit on your vocal variety when you're talking. Toastmaster Gopika, as the second speaker in table topics, I really loved the twist between the character shift that you had. You were shifting between Sherlock Holmes and yourself at various times, and that was a great point. Toastmaster Hind as the third speaker. What great sayings. I don't know if you've seen this in the movie or you were just making it on the spot. I'm not sure, but it was really good. And your delivery was so good that you actually managed to scare me at some points. I was wondering if, that Joker character has actually gotten inside you. And lastly, Toastmaster Ram, again, I would say great tactic of usage of the recall between the other characters in the table topic. So that was really great. Now let me get on to the evaluations. I feel that as evaluators, it helps if we don't just speak about what was wrong and what was right, but also how you could improve on what went wrong. And I feel that us as maybe evaluators, this is something that we all can work on. Don't just say who said what where, but probably what would help is why that went wrong and how that could be done better. Maybe not in a single meeting or something, but over time. Toastmaster Hind and Toastmaster Ram, as speech evaluators, you both had great evaluation points, I think. I mean, I really loved the scope of improvements that you guys gave. But Toastmaster Ram, one thing I feel you could have done better is you could have outlined the positives of the speech in a better fashion. I feel that all of them were clubbed into a single point, and maybe there was something there that you could have said more about in terms of content and what was done good. I think that's all I have today. And one takeaway that I have is that Toastmaster Hind really knows his movies well. And kudos to you again, Toastmaster Hind. And I mean, both of you for keeping us engaged in terms of the movie names and everything. Well, that's all I have. Back to you, Toastmaster Navjot. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. Sorry, I'm going to mention another Christopher Nolan movie now. People who don't know that Dark Knight was also directed by him, so you might have come familiar with him now. His every movie is jaw-dropping for me, and I usually have to take some time after his movie has finished to come back to real life. He really nails his movies well, and his peculiarities. One fact about the movie is it features a black hole, and scientific help was taken, and the black hole that was rendered in the movie was from actual mathematical equations with help of Dr. Kip Thorne from Caltech. And they had to develop a special software to put on these equations so that the event horizon around the black hole can be as accurate as possible. So any guesses about the movie?
Interstellar.
Yeah, right, Konrad. So movie was Interstellar, and this movie I've only watched once, and I have not dared to watch it again because I do not want to dilute the movie with spoilers. So let's move on to the end of the session, and let's move on to the elections, and let's elect the best speaker and the best evaluator for the session. Toastmaster Hen, can you please share the link? Timer, can you please put on timer for 30 seconds? Do we have all the votes, Toastmaster? Yeah, so thank you all for such a wonderful session. Over to you, Toastmaster Hind, for announcing the winners.
Thank you, Navjot. There might be some disturbance at my end because of the construction activities happening nearby. Please do not be disturbed a lot by that, I hope. So now is the time to announce winners. We have Best Table Topic Speaker, Best Evaluator. Let's begin with Best Table Topic Speaker. That's a difficult award to be awarded because I will have to award it to myself. Thank you all who voted for me. The award for Best Speaker is any favorites in the house?
Essay.
Well, he had a remarkable, or as we call it in Hindi, Dhasu entry. But our award for the best speaker goes to Toastmaster Gopika. Congratulations, Toastmaster Gopika. Next up is the best evaluator. Well, as a person who himself was competing for best evaluator, I must say the person who won only won because of the amount of content that she delivered. Congratulations, Toastmaster Shreya. Finally, thank you all for taking up the roles that you did. Thank you, Latha, Jay, and Gopika for being the guest role takers in our meeting. It was definitely encouraging and exciting to have you, and we would love to have you back. So anytime you are feeling on a Friday like going to a Toastmasters meeting, we'll always be open for you. Just one thing, we organize these once in 2 weeks. So if it's a Friday when we are not having a meeting, we'll be sorry. That's all from my end. Thank you everybody for joining. See you same time 2 weeks later.